Welcome back to the BWISE PoliSports podcast, where we break down power, politics, and the price black women in sports has always paid for progress. Today marks the final chapter in our 4-part mini-series, WNBA, Legalized Theft, Delayed Equity, and the fight for reparations. But let me be clear, this ain't the end. This is the ignition switch. This is where analysis turns into action. For 27 years, black women in the WNBA have sacrificed their bodies, image, intellect, and labor in service of a league that was never designed to serve them back. They've been undervalued, over-controlled, and systematically underpaid. And it wasn't by accident, it was by design. And yet, they still showed up, still dominated, still carried this league on their backs, while getting breadcrumbs and branding bans in return. So no, we're not asking nicely anymore. This is your call to arms. Strike, sue, seize power. Because fair play, that ship sailed. Now we're talking about dismantling a rigged economic structure that profits off exploitation while dressing it up as empowerment. This ain't just a labor issue, it's a civil rights issue, a gender justice issue, and a black liberation issue. We're not here to beg for equity. We're here to demand reparative justice. So buckle in. The smoke is coming, and it's overdue. Let's rewind. To understand where we're going, you need to know how we got here. Let's briefly revisit how we got here, because this final episode only makes sense when viewed through the lens of a system we've exposed. Episode 1, WNBA and the case for reparations. 27 years of legalized, genderized, and racialized theft. We laid the foundation, examining how the league was built on the unpaid, underpaid, and disrespected labor of black women athletes. We exposed how financial inequity was designed, and it wasn't accidental. In episode 2, legal framework for reparative justice. If it's not criminal, it's unconstitutional. We explored how Title VII, Title X, and antitrust laws can be used to demand retroactive justice. We introduced legal precedents that support labor reparations and made the case that what's happening in the WNBA isn't just unjust, it may be unlawful. Episode 3, the business of exploitation, brand control, media erasure, and the billion-dollar lie. We followed the money. We revealed how the NBA benefits from black women's labor without paying them a just share, how media erasure props up white athletes for corporate gain, and how branding rights are weaponized against the very players who built this league. What's at stake in this final episode? In today's final installment, we're going to shift from analysis to action. We'll explore why the current CBA opt-out is a make-or-break moment for labor power, how player strikes, lawsuits, and independent ownership could transform the league, what public opinion, fan activism, and political education must do to pressure change, and how the fight for retroactive equity is about more than money. It's about legacy, dignity, and justice. This isn't just about better contracts. It's about structural repair. It's about returning value to the very people who built this sport. And it's about fans standing with players, not just cheering them on, but helping them seize what they're owed. Let's get into it. We are officially in the preseason of power. The WNBA Collective Bargaining Agreement, CBA, opt-out looms large in 2025. And make no mistake, this is strike season. It's not a question of if the players will act. It's about how bold they're willing to be. We've now entered a pivotal chapter where quiet negotiations must evolve into loud, visible demand. Why? Because the stakes are generational and the receipts are undeniable. Players have the leverage and the league knows it. The current CBA was renegotiated in 2020 under celebratory headlines: bigger base salaries, better maternity benefits, upgrade travel promises. But 4 years later, many of those promises remain half-kept or cleverly sidestepped. Charter flights selectively granted. Salaries still constrained by an outdated cap. Revenue share still capped after the WNBA meets arbitrary profit goals. And that's why players voted for a strategic opt-out in 2025. They aren't just asking for more, they're demanding equity. This is about changing how the league does business and who it prioritizes in its power structure. Let's look at political memory, strikes that have changed sports. Let's go back to 1994, when the Major League Baseball players went on strike and forced the cancellation of the World Series for the first time in 90 years. It cost over $1 billion in economic losses, but it shifted the entire conversation around revenue distribution. Or look at 2011, when NBA players locked horns with the league over basketball-related income. That lockout didn't just delay the season, it resulted in a new deal where players walked away with 49 to 51% of the BRI. Why do these moments matter? Because they show what happens when athletes understand that they are the product and when they decide to withhold it. Timeline and receipts. 2023, rumbling of unrest. Players expressed dissatisfaction with the execution of key CBA promises. 2024, players' interviews began centering equity, control, and visibility over just perks. 2025, the former opt-out year. WBPA signals it's ready to renegotiate and resist. WBPA President Nneka Ogwumike said it best back in 2020. We're not just athletes. We are assets. We're businesswomen. That statement was prophetic because now in 2025, the players are ready to demand businesswoman level compensation and respect. The new alliance era. Now here's the twist. WNBA players no longer stand alone. NBA stars like Kyrie Irving, Chris Paul, and even Steph Curry have publicly supported better pay and working conditions for their WNBA peers. That solidarity matters, especially when media attention and corporate partnerships now hang in the balance. Strike season is here, not because the players want to strike, but because the league has made it clear that nothing changes unless you force it to. This isn't a game, this is a labor war. And if the WNBA truly wants to evolve, it's time they remember one thing. You can't market the movement and ignore the muscle. Stay tuned, we're just getting started. Let's get into it, because when policy won't move and public sympathy falls short, sometimes you gotta drag injustice into a courtroom. Lawsuits aren't just about damage, they're about leverage. And in this moment, with the WNBA players demanding dignity, equity, and economic justice, a well-aimed legal case could blow the whole thing wide open. Let's start with the big one, Title 10. Now, we all know Title 10 was supposed to ensure gender equity in sports tied to education institutions. But follow the money. When the NBA was funnily supported to the WNBA during its early years, were those resources distributed equitably? Did the investment mirror the infrastructure, staffing, or licensing efforts seen in the men's league? Because here's what we see today. NBA logos plastered on WNBA merch, likeness shared across platforms, broadcasting deals negotiated under joint umbrellas, but player compensation and licensing terms that don't reflect equal treatment. That has Title 10 implications, especially in cases where women's professional paths are tied to NCAA systems, pipelines, and historical funding disparities. Now let's talk imaging and licensing rights too. Some early players who helped shape the identity of the WNBA never saw a dime from commercial use of their image. Their likeness was used in ads, throwback collections, commemorative videos, and jerseys, but no licensing agreements, no back pay, no opt-out clauses. That smells like discrimination, and any competent labor lawyer will tell you that's grounds for a class action lawsuit. Imagine what it would mean for the original W to file suit, not just for personal damages, but to force a public conversation to demand transparency in how images are sold, brands are built, and profits are divided. And don't think it's impossible. We've seen this playbook work. U.S. women's soccer did it. They took U.S. soccer to court, filed under equal pay, won both public support and policy concessions. Now they're reaping the benefits. That was a movement, strategic, legal, and media-driven. And it worked. This could too. And here's the thing. A lawsuit doesn't even have to win in court to win in the culture. Sometimes the pressure of discovery alone forces reform. Sometimes it's about putting decision makers under oath, getting those internal memos on the record, exposing the truth. Because once the public sees how the sausage gets made, it's a lot harder to sell them inequality with a smile. With the rise of NIL, new player unions, and athlete media outlets, the time is right. Labor attorneys all are ready. Advocates are in place. The case law is evolving. The moment is now. So let's stop pretending lawsuits are a last resort. They're a power move. And in the WNBA's fight for fairness, justice might come dressed in court filings and depositions. We're not afraid to lawyer up. We're not just hoopers. We're history makers. And this fight, it's got legal legs. Let's talk numbers. Because behind every dollar in pro sports is a power structure. In the NBA, players get about 50% of all basketball-related income. That means every ticket sold, every jersey, every streaming deal, every corporate sponsorship. That revenue is split evenly between the league and the labor force that makes it possible. Now look at the WNBA. Women aren't getting 50%. They're not even close. What they're getting after decades of carrying this league on their backs is crumbs, leftovers, and insult dressed up in performance bonuses and marketing perks. And let's be clear, this didn't just start yesterday. The early pioneers, the players who launched the WNBA, who played through injuries, double shifts, international contracts just to make ends meet, they didn't see a single dollar of that broadcast expansion. Zero compensation for the foundation they built. No equity in the merchandise. No royalties from logos, the jerseys, the history that's now being sold to the highest bidder. We're saying now, retroactive compensation is justice. Equity packages aren't gifts. They're overdue debts. Because what's the point of having a seat at the table if you're still paying to eat? The new generation isn't staying quiet. BRI now isn't just a catchy chant, it's a demand, a blueprint. Players want a transparent breakdown of every dollar tied to basketball-related income. Ticket sales, merch, streaming rights, digital content, international licensing, expansion franchises. If it's a basketball-related entity, players deserve their cut, period. And this is bigger than the current roster. BRI now is about securing the bag for the future generations of women athletes, for the girls watching today who won't just dream of going pro, but will expect to get paid like it. It's about breaking the cycle where women, especially black women, build billion-dollar industries but walk away with nothing but applause. The fans see it too. We've seen the fan outrage. We've read the economic reports. We've watched the viewership surge, the merch sell out, the arenas fill up, and the players' salaries stay stuck. How is that possible in a fair system? The answer is clear. It's not. So let's call it what it is, an economic justice issue. If you believe in fairness, if you believe in equity, then BRI must be part of the fight. Not just the next CBA, not after another 3-year negotiation, right now. Because labor makes the league, and the league deserves its rightful share. Let's be real clear. This ain't just about basketball. This is about an entire economy that's been built off the backs of black women athletes, while the real profits get siphoned off by white-led corporations, legacy networks, and male-dominated ownership groups. But here's the truth. They don't want you to know. We don't have to play in their house anymore. There is an entirely new sports economy emerging, and guess what? Black women are already building it. Take Unrivaled, the new 3-on-3 league now entering its second season, founded by Nafia Collier and Breonna Stewart. That league secured a $100 million broadcast deal with TNT before it even played a single game. It's a player equity model. Now that's players flipping the script. No middleman, no exploitation, just athletes' own power. In its second season and this summer, they secured unrivaled NIL deals with the top NCAA Division I players and had a college players camp, which was a heady strategic move ahead of the CBA negotiation. Now a new basketball league is set to take off, the Upshot League. Let's set the stage for what the Upshot League really is. Officially, it's a pro women's basketball league tipping off May 2026. The concept, keep it regional, keep it intimate, build it from the ground up. A developmental platform where players can hoop, grow, and showcase their talent. Whether it's the W off-season or outside the system altogether. Leading the charge, Donna Arinder, former WNBA president, one of the architects who stabilized the league in its early years. A business mind who knows the sports and the politics around it. And backing her up in basketball ops, Taja McWilliams Franklin, 6-time All-Star, 2-time champ. That mix, executive savvy and player credibility, gives the Upshot League instant legitimacy. But here's the real play. They're not chasing New York, LA, or Chicago lights. They're planting roots in the Southeast. 4 founding franchises, Greensboro Groove, Charlotte Crown, Savannah Steel, led by Coretta Brown, former North Carolina standout, and the Jacksonville Waves. 4 cities with deep basketball DNA, strong HBCU ties, and a vibrant sport culture that rarely gets national shine. That's intentional, that's strategy. This regional model might sound small scale, but it's actually strategic. It's about accessibility. They're looking to build loyal, local fan bases rather than competing directly with the WNBA's national brand. That's smart business and political positioning. It allows the Upshot League to experiment with ideas that could either complement or challenge the existing system. But in a move that still has the WNBA brass with a drop jaw, the president of the WNBPA Players Union, Nneka Ogwumike, just signed a lucrative, reportedly worth $2 million with the Saudi-backed Project B Women's Basketball League set to start at the end of November. That's a move that has geopolitical implications. It signals that not only are other leagues willing to pay top talent, but that the top WNBA talent has options and they don't have to settle for pennies on the dollar. And let's talk NIL, name, image, and likeness. From college players like Flaw J. Johnson stacking multi-million-dollar brand endorsements, to pros locking down signature shoes and equity deals. Black women are moving from rented labor to ownership. USC basketball player Juju Watkins has just made history by becoming the first college athlete to invest in a professional women's sports team. She's joining the investor group for the National Women's Soccer League new team, Boston Legacy FC. This makes her one of several prominent athletes who are part of the ownership group for the team, which is set to begin play in the 2026 season. But it's not just about individual success. What we're witnessing is the birth of a new infrastructure, athlete-owned teams, player-run media platforms, merch brands, streaming deals. We're seeing the seeds of a self-sustaining, player-controlled economy. And we as fans better understand our role to fund and fuel this ecosystem, not the one that's left our players fighting for crumbs. We need revenue-sharing mandates, licensing cooperatives, collective bargaining strategies that center basketball-related income, and fan-led movements that demand not just equity, but economic control. This ain't charity, it's reparations for decades of exploitation, invisibility, and underpayment. And if the WNBA wants to stall, gatekeep, or fold, let it. Because we've got options now. Just like hip-hop artists built their own labels, just like esports communities monetize their own streams, just like black-owned brands are flourishing on independent platforms, we can create our own sports future that doesn't beg for recognition, but builds resilience, ownership, and generational wealth. So fans, listen closely. You are not just spectators. You are stakeholders in a movement. This ain't just a game anymore. It's an economy. And the question is, who do you want to see get paid? Let's be real. This isn't just about better wages or a bigger piece of the pie. This is about justice. This is about paying a historic debt to the black women who built this league with their sweat, sacrifice, and silence. And now, that silence is over. Because you can't reform a system that was built on exclusion. You've got to force it to pay back what it stole. So here's what we need you to do, PoliSports Nation. Sign the petition. Reparations now for WNBA pioneers. Use the hashtag #RespectHerWork, hashtag BRI now, and hashtag Legalized Theft. Send a fan letter. We're putting the NBA, WNBA, and the WNBPA on notice. Join the town hall. Players, fans, and lawyers speaking truth before the CBA is signed and delivered. Tune in to live roundtables where we invite former players, black women, and even labor and sports attorneys to help us lay out the legal roadmap to getting a radical CBA. This is the final episode in our 4-part series, but it's only the beginning of the movement. If we want a system that truly honors the labor of black women in sports, we're going to have to fight for it, legislate for it, and if needed, litigate for it. So like, share, repost, and subscribe. Then go to respecthergame.online and sign the petition. Send the letter. Be heard. Because in this new era of athlete activism, fandom has to mean more than cheering from the sideline. It means choosing a side. And we hope you choose justice. Up next, we're going into 2 new series. One designed to teach politics through the lens of sports politics. And this is where we'll explain politics' relationship to power and give you terminology to become a political analyst of the system of power operating in your daily lives. And with the growth of women's sports across the board, we have another new series, Power Play, Women's Sports Investments. Both of these series are sure to be beneficial to your involvement in the advocacy for women's sports. We will analyze why sports gambling is being pushed more than sports investment. This is Political Lil for BWISE PoliSports podcast, where power meets politics and the real game is equity, and where we feature justice-centered sports media. And remember, sports are never just about the games we play, but the stories we tell and the systems of power in sports that we expose. This is a battle for the soul of a league built with black women's labor, and it's time we create wealth from the fruits of that labor. This has been Political Lil for BWISE PoliSports podcast, where we don't just watch the game, we change it. Keep in mind, silence has never protected us. We either mobilize or we keep watching our black players be monetized. This ain't a game, it's an economy. And we're here to change it. This is Political Lil. Stay tuned. Talk soon. And we out.